If you want to continue to follow our adventure, click subscribe. So you don't miss anything, click the bell notification. As you may know, we started out our adventure, our nomadic adventure, in a pop-up camper. And we'd been doing it for about 8 months, and we'd settled down to Florida. During the hunt season, we could stay in the national forest for 3 months, and someone burned down our pop-up camper. Now, the evidence that shows that the pop-up camper was burned down, several things actually. One of the most obvious things was they stole the food out of the refrigerator, the meat products, and the canned goods. The National Forest suspect that one of the mentally ill people who live in the area in his RV probably burned it down. Of course, they can't prove it. This happened last April, so we've been at this just a little over a year now in our new truck camper. So we built a truck camper on the back of our truck. Took about 2 weeks to build. Well, the other day I was on a live feed. I was doing a live feed. We do live feeds every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And somebody asked the question, does it bother us still when we leave our camper behind to go on a hike or go sightseeing and those type of things? And the answer was just a resounding yes. It bothers me a lot. Then somebody had recalled that I had said before that our house had been broken into twice right before we started our adventure. And I guess I get this a lot, actually, that I guess they feel like that since criminal activity can happen in a house, it can happen out here, so there's nothing really different. I've actually done a lot of research on statistics. The statistics show that the criminal activity in the National Forest, from what I can tell, might be a little higher because this is where the bad people go. So the question comes now is, why am I more cautious about having been a victim with someone burning down my pop-up camper in comparison to someone breaking into my house and stealing my things? Well, first let me tell you about the house. The house was broken into on a Thursday, and they stole several items. And so we were trying to get an alarm system put in and put in new locks and fix the window. Well, the next Wednesday, so it wasn't even a full week, they broke in again. And like I said, I hadn't had a chance to get everything installed. I had ordered an alarm system, actually. And he finished up the job is what he did. And I will tell you, for a few weeks, that does bother you. It feels like you're violated, but I tell you, you do get over it. And so for about a year and a half after the robbery, I really wasn't all that concerned about being broken into again. But here it is a year later after the pop-up camper burned down, and I am still worried about someone vandalizing or harming our truck camper. You almost feel like it might be a post-traumatic stress syndrome type of thing. I mean, I don't want to say that I'm overwhelmed by the thought or that it's causing me inabilities to sleep or anything like that. It's not. It's just when I have to leave the truck alone, I really just don't want to. It's very difficult for me to do. So why is that? I'm not a psychiatrist. I just know what my feelings are. In the house, I would suspect that if worse came to worse, I had friends and family nearby that could help me. I can think of several right now. I could have went to Mom's house. She was, 100 miles away. That would have been a long commute back and forth to work, but it could have been done. There were several friends that I had. Actually, they were co-workers, and I know they would have taken me in or helped me out, or I would have had lots of resources at home to help me get back on my feet. I remember my neighbor one time, their house burned down, and the whole community jumped right in, helped them out. We bought them some clothes and food and different things. And so they had resources available to help them out, and a lot of resources. Out here, though, there's nothing. So when the pop-up camper burned down, we were in Florida. And that was really a huge advantage. It was a big advantage because my dad lives in Florida. So we were able to go over to Dad's house and rebuild our camper. But if someone were to burn down our camper here in Texas, I don't know anybody in Texas. I really don't have a lot of resources that I can just fall back on. So it's not like I can just, have a bunch of people come and help me out or volunteer to help me out. So that means everything I do, I got to do on my own. First of all, with the pop-up camper, we still had the truck. But now that our house is on our truck, if something were to happen now, the camper burned down, the house and the truck would be gone. So I wouldn't have anything. So that means, assuming that we didn't have a cell phone signal, which is quite possible out in the national forest, we would have to walk many, 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 many miles to get to somewhere where we could start finding resources. I'm not saying that is the cause of the fear. These are just things that go into it. So, you walk back to your campsite, your truck's on fire, and like with us pop-up camper, we had to put the pop-up camper fire out, the remnants. When we pulled in on the site, the camper was gone, but there were still open flames everywhere, so we had to dump water on it with the half-melted buckets. As a matter of fact, I saw a video where a guy was driving his Jeep out in the desert, and it caught on fire, and he couldn't put the fire out. What he had to do was just kind of keep everything else from around it from burning up. It took him all night until the fire finally went out. So that's something you would have to consider. And then you got to walk to town. And when the camper burned down, we didn't have any drinking water. And it was amazing how thirsty we got. It was absolutely incredible trying to put out that fire. We just got so thirsty. So now we got to walk many, many miles without any water. I don't know. All these things just kind of come together and amplify the fear. I think this would be a lot worse scenario if I didn't have an emergency fund. But I have an emergency fund. So, I would be able to go and rent a car so I can drive back to somewhere where it was safe, probably mom's house or dad's house. So even though I talked myself into being a logical person, okay, I have this plan, I know what I'm going to do if this happens. I'm going to go get a rental car, we're going to drive to this location, we're going to go and file our insurance claims, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's all there. But when you actually step away from your camper, the emotional part of that fire from the pop-up camper always pops in my head. Is it safe? Did I lock the doors? Did I do this? Did I do that? I did not have that insecure feeling after the house was robbed, the 2 times. Be sure to check out the video right here. Click like if you like the video, and happy travels.